I don't give a fuck. You're tripping with JJ.
Wow!
Fuck you, asshole.
Tell your bitch I said hi, nigga. Welcome, everybody. I am your host, JJ, and you are on Tripping with Motherfucking JJ podcast. Okay, we got Tyler from Avondale today. Very special guest. He here to break down life, give us some in-depth detail about drugs and how to stay away from that shit. And it's just not good for you, man. Just stick to what the fuck you know is in your best interest. Okay, so let's give a round of applause to Tyler right now. Okay, so Tyler, you experienced drugs firsthand. What was the most potent drugs you ever used?
Man, most potent, fentanyl, dude. Fentanyl will take you and run you into the ground, man. That shit is bad.
Can you describe some of your experience with fentanyl and why did you take that step to use drugs?
I would say depression led me to it, man. Just trying to find that escape, you know what I mean? Just trying to get out of reality, try to feel better about yourself, but that's just not the answer, you know what I mean? It was, and this can be a controversial point, but I always tell people don't try drugs because you'll fucking love it, you know what I mean? That's the problem with it. That's the real problem, because it makes you feel blissful, you know what I mean? But it doesn't last, you know? It's just not worth it.
So it's like a quick fix.
Quick fix, absolutely. You're like putting a Band-Aid on your arm that just got cut off.
It's only going to get worse.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, now when you start to realize that this was deteriorating the quality and value of your life, when you realize that, at what point in life did you say, I have to stop doing this?
It was, so I was going hard, man. I was working a full-time job and driving Uber on the side, and all my fucking money was going to that shit. My routine was, you know, I get a little bag of Coke and take some bumps so I'd be good driving. And one day, man, I was just hanging with the friends, doing Coke, smoking fentanyl, and I took a big ass hit of wax, and I was gone, dude. I OD'd on Coke. I never lost consciousness, but I'd say my heart rate got up to around 200 beats per minute. I was out, dude, all night.
Shit.
All
Wow.
night.
Holy shit. Now, where did you wake up?
I was good, but I feel horrible because I was with my friends and there was just nothing I could do, you know what I mean? I kept telling them, like, drop me off at ER, and they're like, we can't do that, man. We can't. You're going to be fucked if we do that. So I just spent the whole night with them, man. They went to a race. I rode in the car with them, and I was just out in the car for 8 hours, man. Just zoned out, man. I had to get out of the car to go take a piss, and I barely recollect that, man.
Is that the first time, or that's happened on multiple occasions?
Oh no, that was the first and only time. I consider it an OD. A lot of people think you OD, you're dead, but that's not really true. You know, you can OD. I'd say I OD'd on fentanyl a lot because it just puts you to sleep. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're with people smoking fentanyl, they could be talking to you and they're just nodding out, and then they're coming back up and talking to you like nothing happened.
So now the people you was hanging with, you consider them your friends?
I do, man. They're good people, and a lot of people have a negative idea when it comes to people who are addicts, but at the end of the day, we're all just human, you know what I mean? I consider them good people. They have my best interest at heart, but we all knew what we were doing to ourselves. You know
So
what I mean?
some people would look at that. Some people will look at that and say, "Man, what the fuck are you saying? What the fuck are you thinking? Friends don't fucking let friends do drugs and let them fucking lay there, damn near dying, and not rush them to a fucking ER." How would you explain that?
Well, I don't know if I can, because I agree with that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'd say I have a good, what's the word I'm looking for? I think I can read people really well. You know what I mean?
Even when
And-
you're doing drugs?
I think so. I think I've always had a good read on how people are. You know what I mean? But I know a lot of people disagree with that. Maybe they're not my real friends, and I've kind of distanced myself from them because I think they're still into that shit.
Okay, so you distance yourself based on the fact that you trying to live a separate life, or both the fact that you don't consider them real friends, or you just want to move away altogether?
I think mostly because I want to eliminate that temptation. You know what I mean? Because now, how you smoke, you can use fentanyl in multiple ways. You could snort it. You could smoke it off of tinfoil, which is what I was doing. That sounds real horrible, but to this day, someone pulls out some Reynolds wrap, and I'm like cringing. You know what I mean?
Flashbacks.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, your support system with your mother, your father, your cousin, your uncle, who the fuck is your support system?
My mom and my stepdad, man. I am blessed. I'd be dead on the street somewhere if it wasn't for them. Absolutely.
Explain that. What would they do? What they do for you that keeps you away or help you throughout this ordeal?
Well, first of all, when I went through all of this, when I was completely addicted, I was under 26, so I'm still under my parents' insurance. When you turn 26, usually you're dropped from your parents' insurance.
Right.
Their insurance covered everything, man. We didn't have to pay a dime. They covered
No copay.
No copay. They covered the detox, the rehab afterwards. So I was good, man.
So do you believe in this 12-step program?
This is hard to say, but I really don't. I never went to 12-step. I am a believer. I have faith, but I never really got into the whole idea of, they tell you it's a disease. It's something you'll always have. You know what I mean?
Do you believe that?
I don't. I just don't. And I just, some people, that might be true. Like my uncle, my sister, they might never come out of that shit. But, what's that?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's about the individual, you know what I mean? Some people have what it takes, some people don't. It's just about who you are, and once you hit rock bottom, are you ready to come out, or are you just going to stay there?
Yeah, but the question remains, once you hit rock bottom, your brain is fucked up, your judgment is cloudy, you're not in the best health. You need all the above to try to pull yourself up, in addition to a support system, in addition to a program, a healthy program. A lot of people will recommend 12-step. A lot of people will say, did you even take detox?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I spent 7 days in detox. So what I went through was 7 days in detox and then a 60-day outpatient therapy program. Because they have inpatient too, but I can't, I need to work. I can't spend 30 days.
Money.
Yeah, come on. But I'm not saying that's going to work for everybody. That just worked for me, I was lucky enough to catch myself before I fell. I was only addicted hardcore for a year. There's people there's people who's been addicted for 20, 30 years. And I was just lucky in that. Sometimes that might work for you. Maybe it won't. It worked for me, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like I said, I still have faith. And I just think you stay true to that.
When you say faith, you mean faith in God or faith in what?
Faith in God, yes. Yep.
Okay.
I was raised Christian. Thank you, God. Yeah, I was raised Christian, and another controversial take. A lot of churches I don't agree with really.
What do you mean?
Well, I think a lot of it's a money grab. You know what I mean?
What the fuck do you mean
Well,
by
no,
that?
well.
I want to say you.
Well,
You open Pandora box right now. Oh fuck!
Hey, who's calling?
Shit! Now I gotta turn my phone off. Sorry about that.
No, I don't mean it like that. I just, I think that faith in God is something that's within you. And I don't think that you necessarily have to be going to church every Sunday to prove that to the Lord. If you're true with God, He'll know that. And I just think that a lot of these churches, you see those mega pastors on TV driving the Bentley, you better do 10% of your wages tithing, you better do that. I don't care if you're broke, you got to tithe, It's a bad look. And I know not all churches are like that. And I've been to churches that I really like. But I've been antisocial my whole life, and I just don't vibe with that, you know what I mean?
Right now, so do you think that's coming from the pastor, or you think that's coming from God?
What
The 10%. You got to tie 10%. Churches, they like to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's in the Bible. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is in the Bible.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be.
But you don't agree with it.
I to a degree.
What do you mean, 5%?
Well, no, but what's also in the Bible is that money is the root of all evil. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the love of money, when it consumes who you are, it becomes the evil.
Yeah.
But if you're using the money to help people pay your bills, survive.
Mm-hmm.
When it consumes you, when you become the money,
mm-hmm.
that's the problem. That's where the root of evil begins, because everything you touch now is contaminated with evil, because you only care about the money. You don't care about the people anymore.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, yeah.
So you got to learn how to separate the two from moral and the materialistic things of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now, how did your mother feel when she knew you was doing drugs?
She was crushed, man. It was hard to tell her, man. And it's embarrassing, but dude, I was crying, man. I had to come out and tell my innocent, sweet mother that I was addicted to fentanyl, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And
it's tough.
Yeah, it was hard. And to her, no disrespect to her, but she never lived that life, To her, me smoking a joint is like me shooting up with the needle.
Just imagine fentanyl.
Yeah.
She couldn't grasp that.
No grasp on that. But we were raised, I was raised by my mom, so I was sheltered until I turned 18 when I, hung out with my dad.
Were you going to church with your mom or your parents? Did you go to church?
Yep. Sunday school every Sunday. Yeah, I was big into it, man.
What the fuck?
Dude, I know. I was corrupted, dude. My dad came in.
No judgment over here.
No.
I need to ask you these questions because there's certain people going to be watching, going to say, how did you go from going to church and Sunday school to mom and dad who have faith in God, and then you're experimenting with things against those religious beliefs? What was the gateway for you?
It's hard to say, I just feel like, I've dealt with social anxiety and depression pretty much my whole life,
Okay.
And I was extremely sheltered as a kid.
Wow.
Like, it's hard to be a freshman in high school that's not allowed to play Grand Theft Auto, you know what I'm saying? But I think all that contributed to me wanting to expand my horizons, obviously in an extremely unhealthy way, but I just wanted to break out. You know what I mean?
Was it friends? Were you influenced? Were you peer pressure? Did you go to a party one day? What happened with that? How did you experiment the first time?
It was honestly, my friends are all straight. You know what I mean? None of my friends, we're all the same. We're all antisocial. None of us are into that shit. And my friends drop acid every now and then. That's about it. But it was, and I don't want to place the blame on my father because I'm a man. I chose to do what I did, but it was his lifestyle that I just got introduced to, and I kind of just fell into that, you know.
There we go.
Yeah.
So now you looked up to your father.
I did, man. I loved him. I remember as a kid when I was like 12 years old crying to my mom, like, why won't my dad call me back? Like, I just want to hang out with him. He won't even call me back. You know what I mean?
He was too busy with drugs.
Oh, yeah. He was a hustler, man.
He was too busy with the worldly things instead of providing and taking responsibility and accountability for his child.
Yeah, no child support, you know. And I thank God for my parents because we were poor growing up, but me and my sister, we never knew that. We had good Christmases, you know. They always tried their hardest to make sure that we lived the best life.
When you say poor, did you mean you didn't eat?
Absolutely not, man.
Did you mean you didn't have shelter?
You're right. Maybe poor is the wrong word.
Did you mean you did not have unconditional love in your house? Do you mean that or no?
No.
Then you was rich and blessed as fuck.
Well, I appreciate that.
You don't measure poor by wealth and money.
Got you, yeah.
You measure poor by unfortunate circumstances where you cannot provide by any means roof, the basic necessity of the fundamentals of life, the water, the heat, the electric, the gas, the people in South Africa, Asia, where you see them drinking from a pipe water or they walking 20 miles or all day just to get a bucket of water.
Oh, yeah, it's fucked up.
You could classify that in that category of poor.
You're right, and I misspoke there. My bad. But
No.
you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. But if you grew up, especially with not only a mom but a dad in your house, providing you unconditional love and the support you need to look, we're going to keep you out of trouble. You said you went to church. You blessed, man.
Absolutely,
You
man.
fucking blessed, man.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now, let's go back to your father. He was your role model, but he wasn't involved in your life. He wasn't hands-on in your life. You had a stepfather.
Yeah, my stepfather, and I don't even like calling my stepdad because he's my dad, you know. I love him.
I'll
He
take
loves
that back.
me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So your father, not your biological father, but the father who stepped up to the plate and practically who is you considered your biological father by your measures.
Yeah.
Right? He played the role of, a father figure to you, but you still had that desire to reach out to your real biological father.
Right. And it's just because I knew that my dad was out there, you know. And maybe it's just I'm a dumb kid at the time, but like everyone wants to, you know, you want to hang out with your dad, you know. And I'm not saying that my stepdad wasn't there for me because that man
Bust ass for you.
That man was everything for me, man. I can't even describe to you what that man has done for me.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the greatest, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, and he still is.
Not to say he's your stepfather, but I just want to make the contrast comparison.
We know, yeah.
Right, so we're clear. Your stepfather, with all due respect, you consider him one of the best things ever happened in your life. And then you have your father who was a deadbeat. In other words, he did not provide for you as he's supposed to. Now, your stepfather did not put you on the drug path, but your biological father did.
Oh, yeah.
How did that turn out for you in retrospect when you look back at it and say, had I had followed my stepdad and not even seek my real dad, maybe I wouldn't be on drugs. Did you ever thought about that?
I did. And I'll be honest with you, man, I have no regrets. I think that I wouldn't be the man that I am today if I didn't go through the things that I went through. But it's a rough life, man. And it's hard to, because I went from one extreme to the other. I went from a freshman that couldn't play Grand Theft Auto to a 19-year-old smoking heroin with his biological father. You know what I mean?
Shit.
How do you?
Yeah.
It's hard. You know. It sucks.
That's night and day right there.
Yeah.
That's night and day.
And we went through everything, man. We went through everything together, and I trusted that man because he was my father. You know.
So, do you think your father used his position as your father, having that fatherly title, that he misrepresented you as his child by misleading you into the world of drugs?
Dude, that man, love and respect to my father, you know, he's, at the end of the day, he's my father, but he's manipulative. He's a narcissist, and I can't blame him for that. He had a rougher upbringing than I could even imagine, you know? He's been smoking weed since he was 12 years old, and I don't even know what age he started hard drugs.
So, are you saying that it's okay and acceptable to justify using drugs just because you had a tough upbringing or a broken home? I want to be clear on that.
Absolutely not. There is no justification for using hard drugs whatsoever. It's it's just not worth it, man. It's not worth it. And I'm lucky that I went through it, but no one should have to go through it. But I thank God that I went through it, because that when I have children someday, they don't have to go through it because I already have that knowledge, you know?
Right. But there's no guarantees.
You're right.
There's no guarantees. We can try to shelter, we can try to protect, as you have firsthand witness, as and by your own admission, you've been sheltered your whole life up until 17, 18, and then you jump into the forbidden world of drugs and doing things you shouldn't have been doing with fentanyl and experimental drugs. So, given your circumstances and experience with drugs, would you say you made a lot of poor decisions and unhealthy choices when you was using drugs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You're not thinking straight when you're using drugs. There's no, and I'll come out with this. This was probably the lowest point I've ever been in my life. You know, I was living with my mom, just getting high, and I was broke. I didn't have money, and you got to get your high. And my parents had a jar of change, and I knew where it was, and I took it and I brought it to a Coinstar, got some cash, and bought some drugs, man. That's shameful.
Did you ever pray about that?
I do. I pray a lot.
Did you ever ask forgiveness about that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Do you believe you were forgiven?
I would like to believe so, yes. But at the end of the day, I know the Lord knows that I've made horrendous mistakes, and I just pray that I can be saved for that. And I think I will be, because I try to live a humble life now that I'm past all that. And I'd like to think that my mom and stepdad are proud of the progress that I've made since then, because that's just so low, you know. You hear about that in school with the DARE program, you know. It's disgraceful.
It is worse when you don't accept accountability. It is worse when you don't take responsibility. You just did both. You accepted accountability and you took responsibility for what you've done. And I ask you, have you prayed, you know, do you feel forgiven? Do you believe you were forgiven? it's clear you have faith in God. It's clear you believe in forgiveness. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay? You made a mistake. Okay? You feel horrible about it. Clearly, you're putting it on the table. So you putting it on the table allows you to move on.
You're right.
It allows you to move on. So you're putting it behind you, okay, instead of keeping it on your chest and saying, I can't believe it, but I'm not going to tell anybody. When you let it out, you're relieving yourself and saying, look, I fucked up. What I did was terrible. I feel horrible about it. I pray to ask for forgiveness about it, and now I'm moving on, and hopefully I can never go down that path again.
Absolutely right.
That takes a lot of courage.
Well, I really appreciate that, man.
You doing it, man. I'm just recognizing what you're doing. And I encourage you to continue down that path. It's not an easy path. It's a very challenging path, I could imagine, because you're going to have a lot of temptation, a whole lot of unfortunate circumstances where you don't have the money at the time, but you have a good heart. You have a good mind to say, look, I've been there. I know what that feels like. I'm not going to repeat my past.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely not.
So now, what are some of the things you do to not repeat your past?
Honestly, when I was in rehab, sorry, not detox. I met a man. He was an older man. He was an alcoholic. He was in the Air Force. Really great role model. He told me something that I'll never forget. He said, being sober is like paying rent, and rent is due every single day.
What an advice.
Hell yes. And I will live by that till the day I die.
So that means you got to be on your P's and Q's every single day.
Every day, every second of the day.
No slip-ups.
No slip-ups, man. No slip-ups. And to be honest with you, I dealt with cravings. I dealt with wanting to use again. But at the end of the day, you just can't go down that path. And it's hard to describe if you haven't been through it. But maybe everyone's different. But I just can't fathom using again because, one, the fear of death. It's been so long since I've used. If I took a hit, my heart could stop, you know? And that's one thing. And two, it's guilt. It's the shame of using. Like, if I take one hit, I feel like I've let everyone down, you know?
Okay. So you do have a conscience and you do care about family members and your support system.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you prioritize in your life right now? What is your priority?
Right now, my priority is picking myself up out of this hole that I dug for myself. I am in massive debt. I've had I've had probably a dozen panic attacks, been to the ER. I owe so much money, you know? And that's my main goal right now is to dig myself out of that hole. And luckily I'm blessed with a good job that I can do that. But that is my main priority. And second is fitness, you know, because it all starts with that. You got to be on top of your game if you're going to succeed in this world. And I think that first step to getting there is being physically and mentally fit. So right now those two things are my main focus right now.
Absolutely. Now, are you in any educational program? Are you in any rehabilitation program? Anything at all that's going to help you progress and not regress?
Right now, I'm not. And like I've said before, that's because of the fact that I just don't. I've been to 12-step meetings. I've been to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and I just don't vibe with it. I really don't. I think that the power to stay away and stay clean is within you. And if you have that power, if you can resist the urge to use, then you don't need that support system. But some people really do. And I'm not saying I don't. Maybe I do. But I feel like I'm doing really good for where I'm at.
Okay, some people would say you're shortchanging yourself by not going to the program because you.
I don't give a fuck. You're tripping with JJ.
Wow!
Fuck you, asshole.
Tell your bitch I said hi, nigga.